Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Clear skies out here in the Gulf of Alaska, back across into Bristol Bay, and a lot of clouds with the system circulating up here over the northwest. You can see the circulation counterclockwise flow there. Whole thing dropping slowly southward. Areas of clouds, precipitation with this band right through here, diminishing up to the north. And pretty good shot of rain coming from the eastern North Gulf Coast across the Wrangell Mountains today, associated with that batch of moisture. And then more rain of a lighter variety here falling along the southeast coast. And that's about changing over to showers now. Next system already spreading moisture up toward the coastline. It's not much of a break between the one currently moving through and the one back to the southwest. Occluded front here bringing a little bit of moisture, but not a whole lot here to the southern side possibly of the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, but very light if at all, associated with that 1,000 millibar load down to the south there. Bulk of the moisture already out here ahead of the occluded front, sweeping in toward the southern southeast coast. Today that front moving inland here late this afternoon. Rain continuous here. Ketchikan picking up about 1/4 inch of rain today. And otherwise Yakutat picked up a little over an inch, 1.16 inches during the 12-hour period ending at 4 p.m. this afternoon. And pretty heavy amounts of rain falling in the Wrangell Mountains as well. A place called Gates Glacier picked up a little over an inch in that same 12-hour period. Showers scattered across the southeast interior. Sun breaking out, Cook Inlet area, and again back down into Bristol Bay. Not a bad day there at Kodiak Island. Clouds here over the north central interior all the way out to the Arctic coast with some showers and rain going on the eastern Beaufort Sea coast on over toward Kaktovik and then back toward Dead Horse. And areas of rain here and showers, definitely cloudy skies, cool conditions, but the wind's lighter than they were yesterday here, the main low center dropping southward. Clouds all the way down into the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, but really all the precipitation confined back toward the coastline there, where St. Michael picked up 2/3 of an inch of rain with that narrow band of showers and rain today, while Unalakleet had about 1/3 of an inch of rain during the same 12-hour period. Out to the west, not a lot going on. This weak low down to the south, moving eastward. Very weak trough out here in between Shimei and Amchitka Islands. Otherwise, some breaks. Atka had clear skies for a time during the afternoon today. Otherwise, for tonight, that stays about the same there. That's a misplaced thunderstorm symbol. And light rain, fog, and drizzle out here over the far western Aleutians. Otherwise, high pressure, light winds, dry conditions there for the Aleutian chain. Scattered showers here over the west with some clearing periods. Areas of low clouds, fog, and drizzle possible there. Northeast of St. Lawrence Island into the Bering Strait. And high pressure making for light wind conditions here over the Chukchi to the Arctic coast and over the Arctic with a few lingering areas of drizzle and fog along the eastern Beaufort Sea coast. Otherwise, tending to clear out up here to the northwest. And then showers, some of those could be moderate this evening here along the Alaska Range up across the northern Susitna Valley, on up toward Cantwell, Nenana, into the central Tanana Valley areas, becoming more isolated and scattered as you head east. And this low center now looks like it'll circulate some rain and fog into Kodiak Island, especially along the east side there, as this system, former tropical storm, pushes this frontal boundary, so some good rain moving into the southern southeast coast, showers on up to the north. And looking ahead to tomorrow, trough keeps it showery, but not bulk of the moisture and rain coming through tonight. Showers a little bit heavier up to the north there from Elephant Cove, possibly Haines back toward Yakutat, and then a lot of moisture here. Actually, that's streaming on northward with the next system. Still a ways off the coast here. That'll be moving into the southeast coast during the night, Sunday night. Otherwise, look for the winds to increase here on the North Gulf Coast and should become gale warnings tomorrow night as this front lifts northward, or tomorrow evening and overnight tomorrow night. Otherwise, rain spreading in, especially in the afternoon hours. Not so much in the morning here for Cook Inlet on up to Anchorage, Palmer, Eagle River, and those areas, but definitely by the afternoon, increasing chances of rain. So pretty good chance here from Kodiak Island all the way up to the Alaska Range. Isolated thunderstorms here. Just scattered possibility over the eastern interior with some partly sunny skies. So that'll allow temperatures back into the lower to mid 60s here tomorrow afternoon. And gusty north winds here out along the southwest coast. 10 to 20 miles an hour here over the Yukon. Well, more of a 5 to 15 mile per hour wind for the Yukon Delta. Kuskokwim Delta kicking up to 10 to 20. Higher gusts out along the coast. And then small craft advisory winds here for the Alaska Peninsula, especially on the Pacific side. In those marine forecasts, much lighter winds, though, high pressure for the Pribilofs down into the Aleutians, and a warm front starting to push into the northwest Bering Sea, and associated with that low, and that's going to be tracking due east. It looks like Monday that'll kick the winds up, head of the front here, getting pretty good winds with that system as it approaches the western Arctic coast there. But ahead of that, pretty fair conditions, sunshine in the afternoon for the north slope through the Brooks Range. Looks pretty good all through the central interior, right on down to Bristol Bay and the Alaska Peninsula. Chance of rain, northeast winds on the increase here, Kodiak Island, along with rain. Rain spreading northward with this front. Again, gale force winds in advance of the front kicking in Sunday night, continuing into Monday until the front lifts northward or weakens. And that same pattern into the southeast coast here with rain, mostly over the heavy, well, actually from Dixon Entrance all the way up to White Pass, Chilkoot and White Passes, and probably spilling into the Yukon as well. Just a risk of an isolated thunderstorm along the eastern Alaska Range. Isolated showers, but generally a pretty good day, variably cloudy here over the eastern interior. And windy conditions continue here along the Alaska Peninsula. In fact, 40-knot northwest winds in the forecast there for the marine area from Sitkinak on down to Castle Cape. Small craft advisories on the north side. And then winds diminishing on down the Alaska Peninsula, becoming much lighter here for the eastern Aleutians. Next system, big area of rain coming in with that, spreading all the way to Adak in the afternoon with small craft advisory winds, the way it looks at this point in time, going 25 knots out ahead of this system with rain, areas of, and fog with, again, maybe gusts to as high as possibly 40 miles an hour in a narrow band in advance of the front. But right now, just gale force, small craft advisory winds in the forecast with that. Temperatures today, southeast coast, all in the mid-50s, except Skagway up to 61, 57 Yakutat, lower 50s here with all the rain and clouds there across the Copper River Basin with 50 at McCarthy, 51 Gulkana, 58 there in Valdez this afternoon, 54 in Cordova, 56 degrees up there at Northway, falling to just 50 at Fairbanks this afternoon, but Willow and Big Lake both reaching 60 degrees, 57 Kenai, 59 Homer, 56 down at Kodiak, Seward 58 degrees, and Whittier at 55. Up to the north, the Eagle, warm spot in the state today, 66 degrees. You may see that again tomorrow. 58 at Fort Yukon, 52 over at Bettles, and cooling into the 40s. Septimumiat Airfield pushed up to 50, lower 40s along the Arctic coast to mid 40s, mid to upper 40s here in the northwest. And extending all the way down across the Yukon Delta and even over toward Kaltag, afternoon height or afternoon temperature 46 degrees. Back into the mid-50s, Kuskokwim Valley, all the way down to Bethel, 52 at Macoriac. And the St. Paul Island Observatory reported 54 degrees, lower to mid-50s for the Aleutians, upper 50s Alaska Peninsula. Lows tonight in the 30s, mid to upper here through the central interior, portions of the Tanana Valley, especially higher elevations, of course, over the mountains, with into the upper 30s for Nome in the forecast tonight, lower 40s down to the Pribilofs, upper 40s Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, upper 40s, lower 50s, southeast Alaska, as well as south central And for the highs tomorrow, again, back into the mid-60s, especially around the Eagle area, but near 60, so maybe 10 degrees warmer for Fairbanks tomorrow with good 50s here on down toward Bristol Bay, 40s for the Arctic coast, 50s, mid to upper out there over the Aleutians, same thing for the southeast coast. And for flying weather, areas IFR across the Panhandle, south side of the Central Alaska Range, spotty stuff in the central interior, more IFR in the central and eastern Arctic coast. Swath of VFR out here showing up over the central and eastern Bering Sea, falling back to marginal to IFR. And then for tomorrow afternoon, that area IFR retreating back to the northwest. So marginal conditions from Atka back out to Shimia. VFR in the forecast for the Fox Islands, Pribilofs, all of the southwest coast, Alaska Peninsula northward and eastward through the central interior. Marginal VFR lingering along the Alaska Range, as well as the Talkeetnas on into Prince William Sound. IFR slipping on into the southern Panhandle from Dixon Entrance, and some isolated IFR possible along the Central Brooks Range with marginal on out to the eastern Arctic coast. Anatuvik, marginal VFR. Adigan, marginal, becoming possibly IFR in the afternoon. Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal, rainy, IFR becoming marginal. And for windy, marginal VFR. Isabel, VFR becoming marginal, possibly in the afternoon. Mentasta, VFR the entire day. Tanita, VFR looking good, but there will be ceilings. It won't be clear, but it should be VFR. For Portage, IFR eastern entrance, otherwise marginal. Chilkoot and White, IFR improving slowly to marginal. Freezing levels, cold pool aloft here, sliding southward, 2,000 feet now, all the way down to the Kilbrook Mountains, north coast of Bristol Bay, 4,000 feet down to the Alaska Peninsula, and eastward across all of southern Alaska, 6 to 8,000 feet over the southern Panhandle, and warmer conditions, 10,000 feet getting into the far western Aleutians. And for icing, well, mostly over the southeast coast there, did a double click. Anyway, upper level low aloft tracking eastward, so good southwest flow, 120 knot jet there. It's going to be pulling all that moisture in. A couple of shots rolling in, one tonight, another one coming in later tomorrow. So that's where the icing threat will be, down in this area here mainly, and then with the next system way out there to the west. Otherwise, northwesterlies continue to sail southward across the Bering Sea there, 70 up to 100 knots on the backside of this upper level low. 9,000 feet, good northerly winds, 20, increasing to 35 knots at 9,000 feet there, coming into Bristol Bay and down across the Alaska Peninsula. Really light and variable with big area high pressure over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians, and light and variable to easterly on the light side, 10 knots there, Brooks Range of the Arctic coast. And some southerlies turn easterly, 25 to 30 up along the North Gulf Coast, but this band staying well off the Panhandle. And then for 3,000 feet, same pattern, north to south, 25 to 35 here from eastern Bristol Bay, or down across Bristol Bay and the Aleutian Range and Alaska Peninsula. Easterlies here up along the North Gulf Coast, 25 to 30 knots, and 30 knot winds starting to push in toward the Panhandle late in the day, otherwise pretty light over the inland areas. Turbulence-wise, light to isolated moderate chop developing here along the Prince of Wales Island area up to about Elfin Cove, mostly offshore, just catching Cape Yakataga. There, southern Prince William Sound. Northwest winds here, moderate chop, Nunivak Island to Cape Newenham, and also along it and on the lee side of the Alaska Peninsula. And after the break, I'll be back with the ice edge and marine forecasts.
Working, traveling, or playing on the water is a way of life for Alaskans. But Alaska's cold water and harsh conditions can quickly turn any boating trip into a life-threatening emergency. Unlike marine mammals with their natural insulation and buoyancy, humans can't survive in Alaska's water without additional flotation and protection from the cold. Immersion suits are designed to provide the flotation and insulation a person's life depends on in a cold water emergency. Immersion suits, sometimes called survival suits, have been around for a long time. Today, there are a wide variety of sizes and designs available. There is no best brand of immersion suit. All should meet United States Coast Guard standards and have a label inside indicating Coast Guard approval. Having a Coast Guard approved immersion suit on board is just the first step. For an immersion suit to protect you in the water, it must fit correctly, be properly maintained, and be stored in an accessible location. You must also practice putting on your immersion suit quickly to make sure you can do so in an emergency. Commercial fishing vessels operating in cold waters are required to have an immersion suit of the proper size for each individual on board. The only way to find your correct size is to try on an immersion suit. Make sure it'll fit over the clothes that you typically wear on deck. Check to make sure the hood seals around your face, that your hands fit into the gloves, and that the suit will not ride up over your head. If it does, large amounts of water can enter through the hood, decreasing your chances for survival. If you are a between-sized person, try another brand of suit. One brand may be cut too large for you, while another brand may fit perfectly. In an emergency, you must be able to identify the correct size of immersion suit quickly. If there are different sizes of suits on board, mark them with easily recognized objects such as a whistle, a light, or some additional reflective tape. This will aid in quick identification, especially at night.
Hey Pat, how are you doing?
Hey Jerry, how are you doing?
Well, pretty good. Broke the zipper on my suit, so I guess I need to get another suit for this trip.
Well, you bet. We got them right here.
When buying a new immersion suit, take a moment to examine the features and make sure it fits you. All immersion suits have a waterproof zipper. This is one of the most important features of the suit. Take a moment to make sure the zipper works smoothly and has a handle that is easy to grab. Immersion suits come with a wide variety of gloves to suit individual preferences. 3 or 5 fingered gloves are common, but may be difficult to work in. Removable gloves provide the most dexterity, but they are difficult to keep watertight and often cause your hands to get cold quickly. Try out different gloves to determine which type best meets your needs. Pockets for lights and other survival gear are an important feature on an immersion suit. On some brands, you can add pockets which zip into the flotation collar or slide over the arm. All immersion suits have a face flap that protects your nose and mouth. Some have Velcro attached to the back of the face flap to hold it open while donning the suit. Many immersion suits also have one-way exhaust valves built into the legs. These valves are designed to let air out without letting water in. They're intended to prevent trapped air from causing a person to float head down in the water. To be Coast Guard approved, an immersion suit must include the following items. It must have 62 square inches of retroreflective tape placed so it can be seen when a person is floating in the water. It must have a light with a dated battery. It must have a pillow or a collar that provides additional flotation. This additional flotation is very important in rough seas. The flotation collar is inflated by pressing down on the tip of the hose with your mouth and blowing air into it. When the tip is released, the valve closes and air can't escape. Make sure the tip of the hose moves freely without sticking. If the hose has a locking nut, make sure it is always set in the open or down position. Finally, Coast Guard regulations require immersion suits to be marked with the name of the vessel or the owner of the suit. Ask your immersion suit manufacturer for the type of marking ink they recommend. Immersion suits should be inspected at least once each month. If properly maintained, they will last many years. The zipper on an immersion suit should receive careful attention during each inspection. Green on the zipper is a sign of corrosion. To remove corrosion, try cleaning the zipper with a toothbrush and a slurry of baking soda and water. Rinse with fresh water. If any green is still present, repeat the process. If this doesn't remove all the corrosion, immediately remove the suit from service and send to a factory-authorized facility for repair. Immersion suit zippers need to be regularly lubricated with a non-petroleum lubricant recommended by the manufacturer. Spread the lubricant on all sides of the zipper. Be sure and lubricate the locking teeth on the back of the zipper. Slide the zipper up and down a few times to spread the lubricant evenly. Don't forget to lubricate the snaps on the stowage bag to assure easy access to your suit when you need it. Inspect the suit for holes, rips, burns, and grease or oil. Carefully inspect the seams for leaks in the hands, crotch, and other areas. Repair any damaged seams with a sealant recommended by the manufacturer. Pull gently on the inflation hose to make sure it is not loose. At least once a year, inflate the flotation collar to make sure that it will hold air overnight. Check the light for any sign of corrosion. Make sure to use dated batteries and replace any that are expired or soon to expire. Test the light. Inspect the retroreflective tape. Yellow tape should be replaced. After using a suit in a swimming pool or in salt water, rinse it thoroughly with fresh water. It is best to dry your immersion suit in a well-ventilated area, out of the weather and out of the sun. To prevent destructive mold and mildew, it is important to dry both the inside and the outside of the suit. In the off-season, remove your immersion suit from the bag and store it indoors. This will keep the suit dry and allow the neoprene material to maintain its loft. It is highly recommended that suits be inspected once a year by an authorized service facility. Immersion suits must be stowed in an accessible location out of the weather. Look around your vessel and find the best place with ready access in all kinds of emergencies. The zipper should be stored in the open position with the zipper about an inch up from the bottom. This will allow the suit to be quickly donned in an emergency and give you room to work the zipper down if it jams. Put plastic bags in the suit so it will be easier to get your feet in quickly with boots or shoes on. Most suits should be rolled, not folded. Roll the suit up beginning at the feet and moving up the legs. Be sure the face flap is left open, either inside the hood or attached outside to the hood on the pad provided with some brands of suits. Roll the hood over the body of the suit, fold the arms across, slide the suit into the bag, and snap the bag shut. A slightly different method is used for Bailey's immersion suits. Bailey's recommends their suit be folded along the line of the zipper. Fold the suit into thirds and place the suit inside the Bailey immersion suit bag.
Today's sea ice analysis is about the same as yesterday's here, and will probably be about like this tomorrow and Monday as well, with this area ice may be changing a little bit, but really no change, big changes coming up for the next 4 or 5 days. And for the south coast here, south coast to the southeast coast, southerlies 10 to 20, so small craft advisories here all along the coastline, up to 30 knots, the strongest winds on the north coast. Southerlies 15, inside waters, except northern Lynn Canal where they'll be up to 20. Monday, no change for Lynn Canal, Glacier Bay, southeast 15 for Clarence Strait. Probably more of an easterly direction there in Frederick Sound. Southeast 20 knots for Clarence Strait, and southerlies at 20 knots for the south coast northward, and still 25 knots out of the southeast for the north coast. Prince William Sound, northeast 20 tomorrow. Winds coming up tomorrow afternoon, 25 to 30 knots coming up to small craft advisories, and then those turn into gales tomorrow evening and overnight Sunday night. Otherwise, east 20 here for the Barren Islands, north 20 Kachemak Bay into southern Cook Inlet, as well as Shelikof Strait, east side of Kodiak, northeast at 20 with 6-foot seas. Then after the gales, Monday night, they come down Monday afternoon to 25 knots from the southeast on the Middleton Island zone to the northeast for the western coast, up to 30 knots though for the Barrens, and northwest 30 here on the east side of Kodiak Island, 25 knots for Shelikof Strait, back to 30 knots for Kachemak Bay with higher gusts, so seas up to 8 feet. And southern Cook Inlet, north 25 knots, so small craft advisory south of the Forelands, 15 knots north of the Forelands. Bristol Bay, north winds 20 knots, that extends all the way down the Bering Sea side of the peninsula. Small craft advisories from Cape Sarachev all the way up to Sitkinak, 25 increasing to 30 knots as you get up toward Kodiak. Next day, 40-knot winds out of the northwest here, good gales, Sitkinak to Castle Cape, small craft advisories, a stiff northwest breeze at 30 knots there with higher gale force gusts out of the bays. Northwest 25 here for the north side of the peninsula into Bristol Bay. Fox Islands tomorrow, north 20 knots, falling back to 10 knots here for the central Aleutians, becoming light and variable out over the western side there under high pressure, just variable 5 knots, seas down to 3 feet out here. And then for Monday, those winds come up after the calm before the storm, or before the small craft advisories here, 25 knots advancing eastward, southeast picking up to 20 knots in the afternoon, Adak and Atka, 15-knot winds for the Fox Islands. And for the southwest coast, northerlies 20 knots tomorrow, 15 knots for the Pribilofs, west 15 St. Matthew Island, north 15 St. Lawrence Island. And then it looks like 25-knot winds out of the southwest here for St. Lawrence Island on Monday, but lighter 15-knot winds up to 20 knots south of Nunivak Island, down to 15 now for the Pribilofs with 3-foot seas. Up along the Arctic coast, east side, 15 knots out of the east, dropping back on the central coast, west side pretty light, southerlies 15 knots, become northwest there from Cape Thompson to Wales. And then those pick up considerably on Monday with small craft advisory winds. That next system coming eastward here out of the Russian Far East and the Arctic. So west 25, 30-knot winds from Cape Thompson to Cape Beaufort, swinging around to the southeast ahead of the front in the western coast, and then back up to 30 knots out of the east as you get over toward Demarcation Point. For tonight again, this system, more rain coming into the southeast coast. Probably seeing no break at all between the one currently exiting and the one coming in tonight. And the next one right on its heels. Showers North Gulf Coast, northern Panhandle. Showers here Alaska Range into the central interior, clearing out in the northwest and cooler with northerly breezes starting to pick up here, especially over the Alaska Peninsula, but even along the coast getting a little gusty there, Cape Newenham, and then stronger winds here Sunday. And then for the rain coming westward here into Cook Inlet, even northern Cook Inlet and Susitna Valley, Kodiak Island, pushing in back toward the Panhandle, and that makes for another wet day on Monday, as well as starting to clear out and end here back to the west.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.